Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business. What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast specifically designed to keep you caught up on all things hip hop, music, and culture that happen throughout the week. Big shout out to the supporters over at patreon.com/hip hop right now. And if you would like to learn what that's all about, visit the link in the description of this episode. But if there is another way to support that is not monetary, it is for you to subscribe, right? Whether you're listening on the audio side, but also on the YouTube side, where I am trying to reach 500 subscribers. That is light work. I've seen other channels do way more than that. So if you enjoy this content, and you enjoy Tale of the Tapes, a new segment on this channel, Rapping Bull-ish, annual Royal Rumble featuring wrestling characters who are actually rappers and stuff like that. You can check it out. It was kind of crazy to watch. It was funny also. And I also commentated this time around. So there's a lot to like. There's a lot more to come. Stay tuned, but subscribe, hit that like button, comment on some of the topics. We could chop it up in the comment section. I do respond. I like comments and stuff like that. So, but more importantly, share it with your peoples. Share it with your timeline. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the number one thing that benefits the channel the most is sharing, subscribing, liking, and all that good stuff. This is just how it works, man, on YouTube. So I'm trying to come up in the world. Thank you in advance. Big shout out to hiphopdx.com, djbooth.net, thesourcemagazine.com from time to time, and a couple of places where I'm getting some of these stories from. Let's get right to the business. Schoolboy Q finally will drop his new album in 2024, specifically March of 2024. This is on hiphopdx.com. It says Schoolboy Q dropping new album Blue Lips next month. I don't know if y'all need to say pause every time you hear that, but whatever. What's the release date? The release date, March 1st, which, considering we are in February right now, you know, if you're from the future, you're probably in a whole other year and you already heard it. Get your ass out of here. But if you are in the present tense like myself, this album is on the way because February is short. Apparently, it's going to have 17 songs. Couple titles from the track listing includes Time Killers, Cooties, Germany 86, and it says the latter being a nod to Q's place of birth. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much on this, but you can visit hiphopdx.com to read the entire article. I just wanted to say real quick when it comes to Schoolboy Q, well, TDE first. Let's start with TDE. I feel like with that last Kendrick album and SZA in a lot of ways, TDE had a rhythm, and I think maybe the pandemic might have slowed that rhythm down some, but they had a rhythm as a label where everybody was dropping and I was on it, and it seemed like everybody else was. And then the pandemic happened, and Kendrick, what's his name of his cousin, Baby Keem or whatever, was over there with him and doing some cryptic stuff. And then Kendrick dropped his final album on TDE, and it just kind of felt like the end. Now, the end doesn't mean the actual end, just the end as we know it, right? So who knows what Kendrick Lamar albums will sound like going forward, considering he'll have probably more control over what he does, even though I don't think he lacked control, but, maybe he'll have the ultimate say. Um, but it just seems weird because it was a hell of a run. You know, when you look back, it wasn't like it was short, but it feels dry for TDE. And I always felt like, even no disrespect to Isaiah Rashad, SZA is different because we just talking about hip hop. Um, it kind of felt like, yo, we need Schoolboy Q to bring back that feeling, to grab the baton and take TDE into the next stage, as an organization, or they just sign other people and kind of becomes a new look. But just there's just something missing from the rhythm in which these things were released. And I know he dropped like a single, I think, last year that was okay, but it's been a while. I think the last Schoolboy Q album was, I think, that joint Blank Face, which was okay to me. I know some people didn't like it, but I think similar to Kendrick, and I don't put them on the same level because their content is so different and how they approach it. But when you're just talking about good albums, Schoolboy Q don't have a whack album, in my opinion. He really don't. And that's why I kind of looked at him like, okay, TDE 2024, where we going next? Drop Schoolboy Q first, let him do what he do, and then bring in everybody else. But sometimes I feel like people sleep on the other members of the crew, and I know people like J Rock and all of that. It just feels like people will be sleeping. Your heads be sleeping on the rest of the TDE crew who are actually dope. Like most of them are spitters, and then all of them really make some really good music. Like they really don't put out subpar stuff, in my opinion. But we shall see, because even though I don't believe I mentioned this as one of my highly anticipated albums, it actually is because I was anticipating it last year when I thought he would drop an album. So now we're about to get it soon. And considering how this year has begun as it comes to releases, it's been hit or miss. Speaking of Hit Boy and Alchemist basically did a surprise, but kinda not, but kinda was surprise drop of a project called Theodore and Andre. Don't get too excited. It's not an album. It's damn near not an EP because it's only 3 songs. Now, I remember, I think this was last year on, yeah, I'm sure it was on last year on Hit Boy's solo album. What was it? Surf or Die, Swim, something like that. Whatever. Uh, but he had this record with Alchemist where he was rapping over an Alchemist beat, and Alchemist was rapping over his beat, and that was the beat switch. And they had a video and all of that. And I remember like hearing it, and he was taking shots at other producers, um, younger producers, not legends. And I was kind of like, yo, they sound good together. Like I think I could be in for more of this. And I remember when I tweeted that, Hit Boy either retweeted my tweet, well, liked and retweeted it, or he responded in some kind of way, like an emoji. I can't remember what it is. And he responds to almost everybody. But when he did that, when he responded, I was kind of like, oh, okay, y'all working on it. And then I saw a tease recently of them wearing the same outfits they wore from that original video, um, like teasing that they were gonna like switch it up. And lo and behold, here we have it. It's a full-on project, Theodore and Andre. Only it's like on Apple, it is listed as a single because it's only 3 songs, right? Maybe an EP is supposed to be like 5 and up, but it's listed as a single and it's 3 songs. And I think it's only like one feature, and that's like singing or whatever. I can't see his name, and I don't want to. We're just gonna hit the play button real quick so I could. I don't want no strikes. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no strikes. Hold on, let's turn it down a little bit. featuring Jonathan Hewlett. Not very familiar with him, but regardless, 3 songs, 9 minutes, and I like it. I like it. If you take the song they did in 2023 and make this 4 songs, there's no skips. Now, I know you might be saying it's only 4 songs. Trust me, there's albums with like 27 tracks where I only like 4 songs. So having only 4 songs presented to the public and I like them all is saying something. I think what I like about it the most is, the production is going to be right. Their voices kind of go together like as a group. Their their approaches are different too because Alchemist kind of he raps like a boom bap rapper, right? Like you just kind of get that vibe from him. And with Hit Boy, you get the feel of the West Coast, but you also kind of get the feel of him displaying bars, right? Like not West Coast as in a chill, laid back version, but more like Game, right? Somebody like Game, not like Souls of Mischief, not wordplay on that level, but you know what I mean. Just more like Game in Kendrick, K Dot, where you kind of straddle the middle of it, right? Your accent's there, but you kind of got bars for them too, and little techniques and stuff like that. Uh, but I like it. I like it, man. It just sounds cool. It sounds good. The 3 songs. At first, I was kind of like, "Word." Then I pressed play. I had to go walk. Like it was like a walk to the store and back or whatever. And I just played it going in because it's only 10 minutes. And I played it again when I was coming back. Then I listened to it again when I was in the crib. And I was like, I like this. And this kind of makes me thirsty for something more. Now, I don't know. I haven't, this is fresh off the presses. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know if they plan to do this a couple of times and then release like a deluxe that's just all of it. That would be kind of dope. But the risk you take with that is the same risk that happened with, I think, 2 other projects, if I can remember. One off the top is the Hip Hop 50 EPs. And I think also with the Black Thought stuff, right? You risk a chance of one of those joints not really being that solid. So you kind of fall off the wagon as a fan, like your attention span is you're not as hungry for it as you were, when you heard the first thing you like. So for me to hear a song and be like, yo, I like that song. And then them to put out 3 more songs, and I'm like, damn, I like those. I kind of feel like the album should be next, right? Like maybe in late March, April, you just like, boom, here's the album. Do a couple of videos for these. Who knows? But one thing I'll say is like when it comes to the hip hop game, and a lot of fans don't necessarily pay attention to this. If you're following like news and hearing hearing artists and producers talk all the time about what they're doing and who they're with, they're recording all the time. All the time. That's why you'll hear somebody pop up and be like, yeah, me and Ye got a whole album together. And you're like, what? I remember when Kanye said that a whole album with Migos, an entire album. I'm like, word? But some of these things will probably never see the light of day. And it's so crazy, like that these things would exist. I like what Hit Boy is doing. Hit Boy is saying, whatever the energy is, let's go with it. And then sit back and say, is it worthy? And then let's put it out. Let's not sit on it too long or do a long drawn out. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, to build up hype to the point where people start talking about things so much that they build what they think it should be. And then when it comes out and it's not that, people are disappointed. I kind of feel like with Benny the Butcher, that's why I wanted him to be like, yo, just check out my album when it drop. I think y'all gonna enjoy it or whatever. Or I feel like I'm the best or whatever. right? But instead, he kind of kept going and going, and all the news for him leading up to his album was about him calling fans nerds, right? And I think it took a little wind out of the sales of his album, considering not purchase sales. You know what I mean? Like a boat sales, wind in the sail, stuff like that. But I think it did, and I think when people like myself who are fans finally got our hands on the album, we were listening with a more critical ear than we would have if he just would have dropped it. Now, I will say, I probably like it more than most, but it was underwhelming. But this joint with Alchemist and Hit Boy, Theodore and Andre, it's exactly what I expected, and in some ways, it's better than what I expected. Did you hear it? What do you think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. And lastly, if you watched or listened to my last episode where I talked about, because at the time, Megan Thee Stallion had released her diss record towards Nicki Minaj called Hiss, right? And the Megan's Law line, and I told y'all that was that was a good bar. It was so good that Nicki Minaj went on Instagram and everything else and just was acting crazy. And then she eventually dropped a diss record called Bigfoot, which is hands down one of the worst diss records I've ever heard in my life. And one of the reasons why I covered it last week was because I figured, okay, if they're gonna go there on some dissing stuff, and little jabs here and there were some decent bars, but obviously they're not entire songs. It could be entertaining from a hip hop standpoint. I didn't have no lofty expectations of crazy bars and nothing like that. I just wanted to hear what they had to say. And it just got really old real quick and very disappointing real quick, because it became about so much more than that, right? Oh, Nicki is the first female YouTube, blah, 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 blah. And Megan Thee Stallion's Hiss is good. They run it up, keep running it up. Y'all keep running it up. And I feel like, did y'all put these out to have us run it up? Or do y'all really have a problem? Do you really have a problem and this is actually a happy thing, like a happy medium or happy accident kind of thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Pink Friday 2 is this, but I could use a little bit more. Oh, I got a beef. Oh, it's running up. Oh, here's Hiss, and I got a new project coming out, but I also need some money from my old project. Oh, run it up, y'all, because we beefing. That's what it started to feel like. And then Eminem decides, and I remember looking at it thinking it wasn't even real, but Eminem decides to diss Benzino on this Lyrical Lemonade album, which I checked out. I do not like. It's not Eminem's album, but he's featured on it. And then Benzino responded with 2 diss records. Now, Nicki Minaj, I already said what I had to say about Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion, right? And what eventually rubbed me the wrong way about what they were doing. With this, it's kind of the same thing, but I think it's worse. We all seen Benzino, maybe not homeless, but appearing to be a little needy in the very, very recent past. We even seen him, even though I don't watch this, I saw the clip, but we even seen him on Vlad complimenting Eminem and contradicting damn near everything he's saying in these diss records not that long ago, right? It was like he was just hat in hand. I'm out here. Now, I get it. Eminem diss me. I'm going to diss him back. This is what's so tiring about this one in particular is the fact that does everybody forget that we already been here with these two, right? It wasn't jabs. It ended with a diss record by Eminem called Nail in the Coffin. Heads who know, y'all know. That was the end. It was already clear that Benzino wasn't on the level of Eminem back then. Is he on the level with him now? Not really. But who cares? That's how I feel. Like who really cares? And why do you have two diss records when he kind of had a verse? Why is this happening? Who is it for? Now, I'll say just off the surface, because I don't know everybody's bills, from my optics from the outside in, is Eminem got aligned to a lot of money based off of business moves and 50s music and just whatever, right? Benzino, I don't know what his revenue stream is. I just know he was looking a little down not that long ago, right? Like down some of the videos I saw. And just taking a hit as a celebrity off of a lot of wild stuff. So I just started to wonder because it makes me think back to Machine Gun Kelly when him and Eminem diss each other. Now, I thought Machine Gun Kelly's diss was on point. I felt like he won. That kill shot by Eminem, like it was too technical, dissectical as bars. Like, sorry, family podcast, sorry. But it wasn't that cool. It wasn't like before Eminem in the past would like nail in a coffin. That joint was dope, but this joint, whatever it was called, kill shot, was just lackluster for someone he would have cooked easily and still has the capability to do so when you look at the more recent BT ciphers, like the one with Slaughterhouse. But it just wasn't great. And that's how I look at these disc records now. Like, well, what's the point? Well, when Machine Gun Kelly got into that scrap with Eminem, it didn't take too long for him to announce a tour, for him to all of a sudden be seen everywhere again. Like he had faded. People forgot about him for the most part. Albums dropping, it was like a launching pad to revitalize his career, and it probably did in some respects. And considering how I saw Benzino and how much online disrespect he gets from the way he looks and people talking about his neck or lack thereof and all of that, he's trying to score a win because I put it this way, it's like when you're nominated for a Grammy or you're nominated for an Oscar. It's excellent if you win because your business goes through the roof. But your business also goes through the roof if you're nominated. It's the nicest second place badge anyone can get is to be nominated, especially when you're nominated for the first time, because then that's more like the potential thing. Like, yo, he might be the next one. I feel like with this, Benzino get into it with Eminem. Well, now some of these YouTube channels that pay these dudes to come and sit on the couch and talk, they all gonna want them because they all gonna want some insight into it, and they want to have you so they can have everybody watch you say it on their platform and they get money. It's run it up. It's run it up again. And most artists, and I assume Eminem too, know what's going to happen. You at least got to know by now, especially after the Machine Gun Kelly thing. You got to know by now that engaging with this dude has now put a spotlight on him that he didn't have, that he's probably trying to get back in some way. And I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. It's hip hop. Just diss records is cool, but it kind of feels cheap. And this isn't the first time this has happened, right? There's been put like Pusha T and Jim Jones, a battle that goes nowhere, literally. Now, granted, Pusha T, in my opinion, killed Jim Jones with a couple of bars. but it put a spotlight on Jim Jones in a different way, right? People go, when he gonna drop it? Like he probably saw mad more followers and all kinds of stuff, right? So you utilize it, and he just did a diss record that was like serviceable, and it was kind of like, is Pusha T going to respond? And then everybody forgot because he didn't respond. Next time I saw Pusha T, he was looking awkward walking down the runway during Fashion Week. I don't care where it was. I don't care where the clothes were. I don't care how much they cost. Awkward is awkward. Okay. But I have no reason to believe that Pusha T did it for a certain look. Maybe he did. Who knows? Right? But somebody like Jim Jones, who is watching Cam and Mace get busy over there and get a lot of bread, might be feeling some kind of way. And now he feel like, I got a little bit of attention. So again, I'm not saying that these artists get together, plan to beef. I wouldn't put it past some of them. I'm just saying the results of it. People think the results of it is who was better. That's not what they think. You know what I'm saying? They may be looking to see what people think about it, but all they know is somebody come back to them and say, yo, streams are up 500%. Sales of your first album is up 100%. We just sold a number of tour tickets. Your Instagram live went crazy. Your subscribers on Twitter went crazy. And then if you were releasing music and you weren't even getting this kind of pop, but yet you have a battle with somebody and now you popping like crazy, people like it. I mean, even those who don't need it, like somebody like a Drake, like it's just that energy. But it, to me, in a lot of ways, it cheapens the diss records and the battles that have come before, where sure, they probably benefited from it as well because people want to go buy the music to hear the diss records. But these aren't even quality. And I'm also even talking about Eminem stuff. This is just whack. All of it. It's not even worthy of talking about. But I was going to ignore it. But then I was like, you know what? Let me talk about the aspect of it that I see and that I kind of got a problem with, because it's just so corny to have these whack records and everybody just tweet, do you killed her, you won, run it up, blah, blah, blah. And we all know it just wasn't that good, man. It wasn't. Nicki Minaj said she got 4 or 5 more, man. Please don't release them. We good. The first one was enough. What do you think? Do you enjoy these battles just because they're battles? Do you think these records were actually good? And I don't know what I'm talking about. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify for the audio version, and visit YouTube Hip Hop Now Pod, where you can subscribe and see me do what I do, and check out my latest segment on this channel, which is exclusive to the YouTube channel, called Tale of the Tapes, where I grab one of the tapes out of the garage and give a quick story or my thoughts on not only that album, but when I purchased it and what my thoughts were at the time. Until next time, y'all, I'm not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.